Party City, Party Central here. What do you think happened yesterday?
Hang on. Which of these would you be most likely to choose? Salt and vinegar chipsticks, bacon things, onion rings, or cheesy balls? Now,
Vol-au-vent.
we're actually very disappointed. We are a massive crisp family here.
They smell good.
And I got a shot this week from Asda because I'm looking at who are the cheapest supermarkets at the moment. And a lot of their stuff is great, but they're crisps.
Their own brand crisps.
They've got no taste.
Can we get these away from me? Because I don't want to start snacking.
You don't want to now, they're stale and they're tasteless.
I've got a story to tell you about Frazzles later. We've got to be really tight here. 10:30, bang on this phone. I've got to be on a very important Zoom meeting. So, yeah, onion rings. It was Kiki's birthday yesterday.
But back to onion rings.
No, but more importantly, I do have to say that Walkers have re-released the 1975 original recipe for Frazzles. I had a packet of Frazzles the other day.
What? Please, can you get some? You keep talking about these bloody...
I don't know if anyone else noticed, but in the 70s they were dry on the exterior, and in more recent years they've become shiny. So you put it on your tongue, it's not the same. They've gone back to the original 1975 taste.
Does it say that on the front
I
of the bag?
sat with my hand in the bag extended like that to keep the bag held. You know when you used to walk around with a bag on your hand? And I ate the whole packet, just sat on the steps out there.
So you didn't share it with anyone?
No, you girls were all upstairs talking boys. So
have they actually said, we have brought back the 1975, or is it just a feeling?
No. They've repackaged all the Frazzles, and they are talking about their 1975 heritage and the ingredients and the recipe, and I'm sensing that they have obviously made an effort to recapture the 70s original.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, horrible. Stale.
I find the shop brand crisps have no flavour, to be honest, aside from Marks and Spencer's Zoe Agnew. I agree. The only ones I used to like were Skips. Marks and Spencer's own Skips. You got some Skips as well, didn't you? I can't believe you're doing that. Onion rings, although you can virtually taste the MSG, says Pink Lady.
I got these yesterday. Have you ever had these?
Mutant Whatsits.
Giant prawn cocktail Whatsits.
Don't know what I think about
I'm
that.
a bit scared about opening them because I'll eat them all in one go.
You get 1 month free streaming with Paramount Plus.
I've got to move these bloody crisps out of the way now because I've started.
Oh God, it's a waft of kind of various kind of crispy sensations. Giant Whatsits and crunchy, what the fuck, says Christos. Absolutely. Morning, Lee Durrant. I have an addiction to Space Raiders, pickled onion. I've never got on with Space Raiders. It's like Monster Munch are too big for the mouth as well. I find them really frustrating.
Yeah, they cut the roof of your mouth, don't they?
And you only get about...
It's like having a monster in your mouth.
You only get 4... Yeah, it is. You only get 4 in a bag, don't you? I mean, they're so fucking huge. Okay, so we're going to crack on. First thing first, really important story, top story, big story. Was reading all about this yesterday, and Nadia, you were fuming, you were spitting feathers last night, understandably and agreeably, about Boris Johnson and his really sort of cavalier and I think tone-deaf suggestion that increased energy bills is across the bear. Surprise to bear, we're not doing anything half as bad as Ukraine.
Okay, so let's give some context to this. This is the man who has insisted, no, why I'm annoyed, who insisted that he wanted to stay in power up until he leaves. He then moved out of Downing Street to Chequers and has partied and holidayed ever since, okay? Then he comes back and he flies out to Ukraine to yet again show off and...
Focus pull.
Focus pull and what's it called? Bandstanding. What's it called?
Grandstanding.
Yeah. And says, I think a very sort of...
Insensitive,
that's exactly the right word, Mark. And again, he's trying to be Churchillian.
And tone-deaf.
The Ukrainians, we are going to have to suck up the cost of living crisis because the Ukrainians are paying in blood. So we're paying with money, they're paying with blood. Now, I just was listening to the economics editor of The Guardian. It was really interesting what he said. He said, do you know what? This is an alibi for Boris. It's not a plan.
Yeah, it's not, and it's certainly not compassion.
Yeah, and it's not compassion. And the thing is, he's tripped around on holiday. He's come back. He's gone straight all up. I mean, flying to Ukraine. I wonder how much that costs. But there's no plan from the government. And yes, a part of the economic crisis that we are heading into and are already into is to do with the Ukrainian war. And it is important that we support the Ukrainians. What do we show the rest of the world? The rest of the world has to stand up against these rogue states. All of that, I get it. But other countries, Germany, France, they are talking, they have a plan. The government have been talking about their plans to help people, support people. And actually, Thomas Walbridge made a really good point this morning. He said, I kind of agree that it's our war. This is the way that he said, but we've been given no tools and no weapons, and there's no plan to support us in supporting. He then said, you know, what the Tories will say is, we've given 37 billion. But again, this guy on the radio is really smart. He said 37 billion that they sprayed like a Formula One driver would, a large bottle of champagne.
Rather than those who needed it most.
They couldn't come up with a way to target people.
Well, and that was Sunak. He couldn't find a system to...
So everybody is getting 400. I pray to God those that can afford it are going to give that back, because it's really bad.
Exactly. I mean, the point I just want to clarify here, Putin is to blame for this. I mean, you know, Putin is to blame. But I think one of the biggest ironies of all of it, I don't know if you remember, because Putin controls the world, principally, not all, I recognise that, but principally most of the world's gas and oil and all that kind of stuff. As the prices go up, Putin's making more money from less energy sales. I mean, I know there's this idea that he's not making money and sanctions are in place, but he's actually shelling in more because the price of energy is going up. And all he has to do is turn the gas off every 2 or 3 days for maintenance into Nord Stream, into Germany. Prices inflate for a bit, keep it like that, turn it back on again, turn it on. I mean, it's literally, there's 6 men.
But hey, it's our way of paying while the Ukrainians paying bud. I think it's Pink Lady says, God, almost the same amount as they pissed up the wall on Track and Trace.
Exactly. Exactly. Gaslighting, says Sarah Begley, pure and simple. I think the problem, but I think in a weird way, you kind of, in your sort of monologue there, you just sort of gave the reason as to, this is our aspect of the war to fight. And I think that is, in a weird way, he didn't go that route. In his tone-deaf fashion, he's gone the route of saying, if he'd said, this is the way we need, this is our sacrifice, this is how we need to, like you know, the girls, like lots of youngsters say, God, our war was sitting on the sofa and not spreading a disease. It was hardly sort of, you know, sensational or dramatic in some sense. It was dramatic in others, obviously. But what he could have said or should have said was perhaps, this is the way we're going to fight it, and this is what we're going to do. Now, yesterday, British Gas, there was a story in The Guardian, British Gas have taken a step in the right direction. So I think it's important to kind of flag up positive moves when they happen.
Yeah.
But it's not enough, and it could be more. But British Gas have decided that announced that they will donate 10% of their profits to help poorer customers who are struggling with gas and electricity bills. And they're going to do that for the duration of the energy crisis, which is something. It makes you wonder, 10% of profits, obviously some of those profits have to go back into sustainability, repairs, improvement, investment, all that R&R and all that kind of stuff. But you feel it could be more than 10%. And I just wonder whether this is something that the government could, in a sense, almost legalise or make incumbent on all of the gas companies.
I mean, I think that's the point. And the point that this brilliant guy on the radio was making. There is no plan. There is nothing being said compared to other governments.
But we're going to get...
So if off the back of that, he'd been saying, okay, this is in the war, and this is what's going to happen.
But he's a bust flush as a Prime Minister, isn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, he's swanned in after weeks of silence.
This is Project
and
Boris.
like somebody just said there, it's like he's told us to shut up moaning.
Yeah.
And that's because, and the other really good point that I wanted to make, these are none of my
Wendy
points.
and British Gas, what will laugh, just reduce the price.
Yeah, exactly. None of these, this is my words, this is the opinion of this guy on the radio today that I thought just was so succinct. You know, he said, oh God, what was I going to say now? He said about this not having the plan, not having any plan. So, you know, in Germany, they're already starting to turn down lights. In Spain,
there's been no public announcement
whatsoever. And he said that, and you know why? Because in Germany, when they're turning the lights off, that's the whole nation together paying a price. What's going to happen in this country is people that nobody's going to like these increases, but a lot of people are going to be able to pay it and not really like the feeling of it, but they're going to be able to pay it. And those that are struggling, and they're already struggling, just won't be able to use it. They won't be able to use their electricity. They won't be able to eat properly. They won't be able to heat their homes. So that's the way the Tories are planning to what's it called when you, in the war when you don't let people have the ration. That's how they're rationing.
Yeah, but
they're rationing by the haves and have-nots.
I mean, what I do think is unforgivable is like, for example, in Germany, and I think in France too, and in Greece, they're recommending that, like, say, for example, small measures, like all shops should turn their shop windows off at night, or, you know, looking at ways in which cities and towns, you know, just
like
simple things like that.
Somebody on the radio said the other day, what about if they said at, I don't know, at 3 o'clock, everybody turn everything off for an hour or something. They had a time. But you know, the thing is, people are ringing up all the time on the radio with ideas. Other countries have got ideas. So it feels like, it's like the nation needs to be held a bit and said it's okay. This is really, really difficult. Whereas what he said is, it's just going to be really difficult. No, it's going to be really difficult, and we're going to try and hold you in this way, that way.
But doesn't this go back to something we've talked about from the beginning of the pandemic? There's almost a sort of perverse lack of compassion or human understanding or human intelligence anywhere in this.
Because
I mean,
they live in such a rarefied world.
And also a simple practical sort of reason for probably a lot of this is, obviously, the country's rudderless. We've got to wait and see what Truss or Sunak do when they get in, but which let's assume is going to be Truss. And God only knows what's going to happen in the first few days of that. I mean, what does need to... I mean, what's clearly happened is Boris has just said, you know, I'm on holiday until the new person comes in. Why did he so want to hold on to power until September?
Because he wanted to fuck it up for whoever was coming in next. Because he doesn't give a shit about people.
Yeah, no, it's very true.
He wants the main thing to be thought of, that he got Brexit done.
Pink lady, you're assuming he gives a shit now, do you?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying we should still be holding him accountable as he drags us through the dirt, as he wanders off to his new glittering life. That, believe you me, he will make millions. He will, from book sales, from public speaking, and he turns round and his almost last thing is just suck it up. At least you're not paying in your blood. It makes me really cross. Really cross.
Other news today. Anyone here got anyone who's receiving their GCSE results today? All of our thoughts are going to all of those youngsters receiving their GCSEs today. Obviously.
Did anyone see what happened on GMB? I didn't see it, but I've just read it. What do you think about getting kids to open their results live on television? I don't think you should do it.
No, I think there's a duty of care. You shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because you don't know which way it's going to go. And then, of course, it will be immortalised forever. And in a social media age, everything that happens will be memed to death.
Exactly.
You know, I don't know. No is the answer. GCSE results coming out. They've already announced that there's a lower number of passes than during the pandemic, but there's a higher number of passes than 2019, before the pandemic. We've talked a lot about this kind of strange concept of floating criteria for what makes a top grade, a low grade, a high grade, a mid grade. And I realised that, I think, YouTube, you were saying it's about quotas. But even if it is about quotas, does that suggest that if I'm not suggesting for a minute that people just, say I got a GCSE in a year that was particularly stupid. Say we just either hadn't worked hard, didn't try hard, or because of mental health, pandemic, our grades were just not good. We weren't at the level. Does that mean if you were all at a really low level, suddenly an A would be just that much lower? Because then it doesn't talk to the meaning of learning. It talks to the meaning of grades and quotas and systematic qualifications, but it doesn't talk to, and this is the bit that I think the Tony Blair Institute, Ken Robinson, and so they're reporting in the Times, an increasing number, we talked about this 2 days ago, guys, an increasing number of teachers themselves are beginning to want reform. I think two-thirds of teachers or two-fifths.
The head of the Oasis Academy said, I really like that guy. I've listened to him quite a few times. A few days ago I was listening to him. And he was saying, you know, we've become obsessed with pushing information into children's heads that they then have to regurgitate into an exam, and that is not, that's not education.
But then over the years I've spoken to lots of kids who are at the back end of GCSEs. I ask them what that information is and they can't remember. Yeah. Because they've learnt it for the day.
Yeah. But that's not a great system.
Well, no, but that's not learning.
No.
I mean, I think we've got a really... We've
so
forgotten...
It's become a competition in memory.
Precisely.
Who's got great memory.
It's like that show on Channel 4, but obviously not with such complicated words. It's just it doesn't make sense almost on a macro level. So on a micro level. Now,
I love the fact me tube's still talking about chipsticks and onion rings.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Nicola Walton, sorry, I just want to read that. Nicola Walton just said, I have been a quiet listener for a very long time. I felt embarrassed that I've only just found out the way to write a message.
Oh,
Don't feel
okay.
embarrassed.
Not embarrassed
I
at
don't
all.
know how to write a message. And it's her birthday. So, Nicola, we will sing you happy birthday at the end.
Can you make a note of Laura as well? It's
And
Laura's
Laura.
birthday. We will be going bang on 10:30, but just before that, we will do your birthday. There are three things that have to be said here. All of our hearts go out to all of the kids doing GCSEs. It's the system. It's what kids have to do. I have O-levels, equivalent of GCSEs. Geek is
I've
about to
got
take
one.
GCSEs. You know, there's a whole there's a system there for a reason. But I think it's incumbent on all of us, not just to be spoon-fed a system because it's the system. I think we can ask questions, and if teachers are increasingly challenging this, and more people who are, you know, educated and thoughtful think, you know what, this isn't the best thing for our kids. I think we have to understand that learning, and so what I'm wanting to say is for anyone with kids that don't get the GCSE grades
It's
that
not
they
the
want,
end of the world.
that they haven't actually it's not that they haven't learned something.
And if you
They just
are
haven't-
that person listening today, you know, I mean, that you will have been led to believe that it is the everything, that if you didn't get those grades, then your whole life is ruined. It really isn't the case.
Katie Knights has got, I love this phrase, learning in school for exams, bathtub mentality. Learn it and then let it drain for the next
Bathtub.
bath to jump over. It's absolutely right. So
It's very hard for us having had a child that's been homeschooled for
Yeah.
6.5 years,
Yeah.
and then suddenly she's in the school system,
Yeah.
and we're all having to hold up this thing that we don't actually even believe in.
And
feel so sorry
and
for her.
also the system. And when I say this isn't teachers that are killing interest. The system is killing even teachers' abilities. We were
yeah.
talking about it last night. Fleur was here. We were talking about teachers are frustrated. Say English teachers are so frustrated with the lack of imagination in the syllabus. They have to teach it because, of course, Ofsted would have them up against the wall if they didn't. But even teachers are frustrated. So if teachers are bored of what they're teaching, kids are bored of what they're learning. Kids go, English is boring, which most kids do. Most kids say that now. English is boring. It's because of the system. The system is
Glorious.
so jaded. It's so jaded. Anyway, the main point here is, if you've taken your GCSEs and you get the grades you want, that's brilliant. But if you don't, do not let it be a judgment on you or your kids or whoever you know that's got them, because it doesn't actually prove anything about your learning. It just proves whether you were good in a test situation, which sometimes, if you ask Nadia to jump up and suddenly recite her times tables, she wouldn't be able to do it, would she? What's 6 times 7?
42.
Oh, fucking hell, that was brilliant. Yeah, well done. I was sat there
It was an
scurrying. I was
absolute
scurrying
guess.
like a nutter.
It was a
scurrying
guess.
like
Probably
a nutter.
somebody in a minute will
Pig
tell us I
lady.
got it wrong.
No, Pig Lady 42. I just wanted to share this story quickly because it absolutely fucking horrifies me, this story. I can't even believe it. Vanessa Bryant, who's the widow of Kobe Bryant, the basketball player, was awarded $16 million as part of a $31 million jury verdict on Wednesday after deputies and firefighters shared grisly photos of both her husband and their 13-year-old daughter. Body part. I mean, I can't.
They were killed in a helicopter crash.
In a helicopter
Do you
crash, and
remember?
they found their remains. And who even thinks to do that? It reminds me of those police officers who took photographs of
Those
the girls,
two
the two sisters who were killed.
terrific.
It's almost
The
like
mum at the time said it was like it all happened all over again when she found that. And then when Cressida Dick rang her up and to do the apology and was totally just protecting him, it was like it all happened again. This is an incredibly painful thing. I mean, some might say, well, you know, it's photos. No, it's
No.
It's like an assault.
in this
assault.
tragic incident where
Tragic.
obviously no one
There's your
committed
husband and your
no one
daughter.
committed a crime against him, though obviously there's a question mark over what happened to the helicopter, the pilot, and all that kind of stuff. But no one actually sort of physically killed Kobe Bryant or his daughter. But this turns it into a crime, because when you then unpack what happened, the pictures were shared between employees of the
Oh
LA
my
County
God.
Sheriff and fire departments, people that you turn to for help, sometimes in the context of entertainment, by some employees who were playing video games, others attending an awards banquet. The images of the crash were seen by some of the employees' spouses, and in one case, a bartender at a bar where a sheriff's deputy was drinking. And there's footage on CCTV, which they showed, of him showing the footage to the bartender and him roaring with laughter. I mean, it's just unbelievable that people are like this. This new brutalism that we live in, with this fuckwit, these alpha males. What is happening in the world? That you can be so brutalised that you even wouldn't feel shame about showing it.
Did you see on another
Sorry,
level?
I just had to show it. It just beggars belief.
So, oh my God, I can't even imagine how horrendous that was. You lose your husband and child, and you have to see people laughing about it. I mean, this is on a completely different tangent and no way comparable. But I'm using this little story, just as an example of that brutalism that you're talking about. Yesterday, I saw this film of one of the robbers that had invaded Kim Kardashian's hotel room. Do you remember? Yeah. And there were 5 or 6 of them. Do you know they were in the 60s and 70s, all of them?
Were they?
Absolutely petrified. She was dragged across the room. She had nothing on underneath the dressing gown. She actually said, I thought in my head, you're going to be raped. Prepare yourself because of the way the men were looking at. Just prepare yourself. This is it. It's going to happen. She was mentally prepared. Totally traumatised, right? They took £10 million worth of jewels, blah, blah, blah. And there was a film yesterday. He was being interviewed in France by a news channel. And he's out now. He got 2 years. And he's laughing about it. He's going, well, yeah. I saw her on one of our Kardashian programmes dropping her diamond in the swimming pool. And I thought, well, if you don't want to be robbed, don't show off what you've got. And the interviewer says to him, but do you think she was terrified? Oh, no doubt she was terrified. She was definitely terrified, but I don't care.
But this is
But the brutalisation also of our media, that you would show that on a news channel. Yeah. Somebody, because whatever you think of her, well, she's still a victim of a terrifying crime. You're on your own in your hotel room. 5 or 6 men come in, masked and attack you. You're naked underneath it. And he's allowed to just go, well, it's kind of her fault, really.
Do you think, guys, that this is because, I mean, I can say for a fact, every woman I know in my life, daughters, women, wife, sister-in-laws, friends of friends, are being harassed by men more and more in the street.
It's terrible at the moment.
And I just wonder whether something really quite frightening is kicking in here, where there is a sense amongst those who have virtually no moral boundaries or moral values or care about them whatsoever, feel that they can keep encroaching and crossing those lines a bit more because there's very little to actually sort of, push them back. The police are at stretching. But if you can't even rely on the fucking police to not spread photos, and it happened in our police force, who is saying, if the brutalisation of society is in the system enacting the rules, and I have to say there's a brutalism to Boris's insensitive comments about the energy crisis.
I think it's really important to say, because the world is scary, and today is quite a news-heavy coffee moaning.
It drives me nuts. It really does.
Not always. If this is your first time, often we have a lot of fun as well. But it is at the moment, and I think a lot of people today
are feeling.
What we have to remember is there are so many good people, and what we have to do is be kinder and more open-hearted, and really, we have to open our hearts more. We have to try really hard not to be brutalised and actually really question that. What is wrong with the American police? I mean, it's just, I couldn't live in America. I love America. I love Americans, but I couldn't live in America. The system over there must be so long. But we just have to take a moment and remember there are so many good people as well.
Final just mention.
We'll do some happy birthdays.
Sorry, we'll do some happy birthdays. I just wanted to share, I was suggesting to Nadia that she should watch House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon, which is the Game of Thrones prequel. It's the most watched series on a pay channel. There's been 10 million fans watched it. It was a huge hit. It's a huge success.
I'm going to start watching it.
HBO Max. But at the heart of the first episode, I did discuss it in the review. is a graphic birth scene that both me and Maddie talked about. And when we shared it with Nadia,
Maddie said,
oh, I don't know
because
if
I
you
said
could
I'm
cope
going to
with
be
that.
watching. I said to Maddie, I'm going to be watching. She was, oh, Mum, there's a scene in it I don't think you can cope with.
Yeah.
It's got to be something, doesn't it, when your daughter's there? And so she started to tell me, and Mark said, don't tell her, you'll spoil it.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I need to
Yeah.
know this. I'm better if I know if there's a dreadful scene coming
Right.
up.
Well,
And
there is
so
a dreadful
I
scene.
will fast forward past that scene because
Yeah.
I don't want to see that.
It's deeply disturbing. So, of course, the discussion and the debate is about whether there should have been a trigger warning at the front of House of the Dragon. And I'm not a big fan of holding the
Trigger
hand of the
warning.
nation, but I think what's the harm in a trigger warning? Though that said, I do seem to remember at the beginning of the part, they did say there will be some scenes in this part that viewers will find distressing. But I think when you're watching a fantasy thing, you sometimes think, well, maybe it's not going to be as... Chi-Chi's dreaming.
just had a
Chi-Chi's
little
dreaming.
dream.
10:28, I've got 2 minutes and I've got to use this phone. So, yeah, anyway, House of the Dragon. Did you find it triggering? Let us know in your thoughts below. And
And we're
Nadia's
going
going
to
to
watch
join
the
it.
next one and we'll
Yeah.
review it.
Yeah.
So, happy birthday to you, Nicola. Happy birthday to you, Nicola. Happy birthday, dear Nicola. Happy birthday to you.
Got to get another
Happy
coffee as well.
birthday, dear Laura. Happy birthday, dear Laura.
Oh, Laura.
Happy birthday, dear Laura.
Laura, happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Gloria.
Gloria?
Happy birthday, dear Gloria.
Did you say Gloria?
Happy birthday, dear Gloria.
So that's Nicola, Laura and Gloria.
Happy birthday to you. Thank you, Michu, for reminding us it's 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Listen, if
Gotta
this
go.
is your first time
1
on the
minute.
channel, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and we'll see you tomorrow.
I'm going to go and get another coffee very quickly because coffee makes my day.